My name is Cindy Van Empel-Popowich. I am an IFBB Bikini Pro. I am also the Director of Social Media for the Canadian Physique Alliance. I am an event MC. I am a promoter of an open and natural bodybuilding competition here in Sudbury, and that's where I live, Sudbury, Ontario, Canada. And I'm a wife and a mother of two and a dog. So yeah.
How did you actually get into the world of fitness?
This might be long before your time, but there used to be comic books. And there was always this scene of the big muscular dude and the skinny person and the sand kicking and the bullying. Well, I was that skinny person. I was maybe 67 pounds going into high school. Leaving high school, I still wasn't 100 pounds. And I remember getting this 8-track cassette and it was Tony Little. And this guy was a trainer with a mullet, really long hair, and I had a TV and a little DVD player in my room, or VHS or whatever in my room, and I put on his videos and I just used whatever I could find. I had no weights or anything, and I would have been about, I don't know, 16 at that time. And then I actually physically joined a gym in 1988, and I was hooked because I was this string bean, but had all this like marathon runner muscle because I just had no fat. So anything I did was like really obvious. So I started training, and it just like that, in that environment, I fit. I had found where I fit, and I just resonated with everyone. I loved what I was doing. And I was just this little energy ball that I loved everything, and I was just consumed by everything. And then in 1989, I went to my first fitness event and I volunteered. So I was running the canteen, and the promoter was Ron Hache, the current president of the Canadian Physique Alliance. He was promoting that show at that time. And I'd asked him if I could help. And he, again, like I said, he put me at the kiosk to do the beverages and whatnot. And at one point, I left my station and I went to the door to the auditorium, and I just poked my head in. And on stage was a woman bodybuilder. And I just stood there and I was mesmerized by what she was doing. And in that moment, I said, I want to do that one day. I want to be that person one day. And that's kind of where it started. It was from me just seeing it. And then actually after that, I watched Pumping Iron and Pumping Iron 2. And Bev Francis, Corey Everson, Linda Murray, Rachel McClish. That was it. They became my people.
For you, was your actual goal just get bigger, get stronger? Was it more psychological? Hey, I just want to feel stronger, feel more empowered, or like really what was driving you at that point specifically?
If I can recall correctly, it was a sense of just lost. I was intimidated. I was very introvert. I was shy, and I was so skinny. Like, I can't tell you. I remember as a child being sent home and not allowed back at school until I had a doctor slip. Like back in those days, they didn't hesitate to go after parents and say, "Are you not feeding your kid?" It was that bad. I looked so skinny. But there was a series of events where, there's a little bit of bullying going on that I just wanted to do my part to make myself stronger. And actually, in 1989, I had an emergency appendectomy. My appendix burst, and I ended up not faring well at all. I stayed into the hospital for quite a long time. I think it was 4 weeks, and it's only supposed to be 4 days at that time that you didn't they didn't do too much laparoscopically. So when you had something like that done, you were in the hospital for a bit. But when I came out, it's like any of the gains that I had were just gone. I was once again just skin and flesh, and I started over. But this time I started over in a different environment. When I went back to the gym, um, I was angry. kind of, because I had seen some gains, I had seen some benefit, I had met some good friends, and I regressed again. Like I went backwards. So when I went back, there was a new employee, and her name was Laura Carolan. And at the time, there was the Jantana Pro Women's Bodybuilder, IFBB Pro Jantana Women's Bodybuilding Show. She was preparing for that. She was massive. I was petrified of her. So was most other people in the gym. She ended up being the kindest person on the planet. She took me under her wing and she started feeding me because I would eat, but I was a mac and cheese cheeseburger at McDonald's. I wasn't eating properly. I was training properly, but I wasn't eating properly. Well, she had me eating so much food, and then she had me on this shake. It was called Cybergain 3000. You could stand the spoon in it. And it was really not very good. But I did whatever she told me. So that I would have been about 19. So into my 20th and 21st year, I started gaining weight. And then she said, let's do a show. And I'm like, okay. So I trained with her as she prepped for her show. And then she was going to be guest poser at my show. So in 1994, I was 127 pounds and she dieted me down. So, like ripped, I would have been about 113. So, still 13 pounds heavier than that girl that left high school and shredded. So, that's when I did my very first bodybuilding show. And I got teased relentlessly by the group I used to hang out with. They were just like, it was horrible. But then I made these new friends who really supported this. And my father was very supportive of it. My family didn't quite get it, but he did. And yeah, I went and did this bodybuilding show and I heard, and the winner of the Sudbury Women's Bodybuilding Championships, Cindy Van Empel. And I was like, I'm never gonna forget that name. That's my name. And it's just been announced. Because for women, not all women, but in relationships, sometimes you can get lost in the shuffle. I was in a relationship with someone who was very prominent, and I felt invisible. And that moment when my name was announced, I regained all that power and confidence from one bodybuilding show.
What were your feelings towards the new nutrition, the new surplus of food, or just having more of a structure? Are you a personal trainer, online fitness coach, or gym owner on the verge of burnout? Are you wanting to grow your fitness business but can't add more hours to your hectic schedule? Introducing Trainer Revenue Multiplier, the premier wealth creation system for fitness professionals that helps you earn more and work less. Visit www.trainerrevenuemultiplier.com today to schedule your free business accelerator session. If you're serious about taking your business to the next level, schedule your call today.
Transparency here. I had a woman who was investing all of her knowledge in me. She was investing her time and the attention first, and then the vision second. I felt so empowered to make her proud that to me, it was a non-negotiable. I am making these meals, I'm eating these meals, and I actually really, really, at that time, discovered how much I love structure because it was effortless. It felt like it was the way I was supposed to be. And at that time, I owned a company. I took the company over when I was 19, and it was a janitorial company. It was commercial, all banks, lawyers' offices, and I ran it exclusively. I got rid of everyone. So my day would start, I don't know, like 9 o'clock in the morning, but I would go to work at 5. And in between that, I would train like a mother. And I would make all my meals and be ready for everything I had to do. But then when I went to work at night, that's where the challenge was because here I'm carting around all these meals. And I literally had one of my meals stayed in a pot. on the seat of my, it was spaghetti and chicken. And she said, when you have a minute, I don't care what time it is, but from the time you go to work to the time you're done work, I want you to just fork the food back. Not specific little meals, bring the whole pot. Just eat and eat what you can. And that's what I did. This off season, because that would have what's what it would have been. It was my off season leading up into like March, or I think it was late March, early April, that we started dieting down. She just wanted me to eat. And like now, would I sit back and eat a bucket of pasta and chicken? No. But I'm also not that 90-pound girl at the time. I loved the structure. I still love the structure. It was super easy. There's a lot of stigma involved in the gym mentality, the eating, the structure. And I think the most common thing I tell people that are just getting into this, and I can speak to women, but I think it happens to men too, is there's a certain amount of peer pressure. When you embark into this, it's mind, body, soul. When you're in the gym and you're able to push your body to places that are completely uncomfortable, that's mind, body, soul. You're not, and the people that demean you or make fun of you, that's something lacking. In my opinion, that's something lacking in their makeup, because there's a reason why we're called the 5%. Maybe we're wired a little differently, but is that wrong? There's extremes to everything. And my way has been very purposeful, and it has sustained me. And in many ways, it's saved me, health wise, as well as just who I am as a woman and how I feel about myself and my surroundings. Fitness has given me way more than it's taken away. Did it take away some sweets? Yep. Did I stop drinking? Oh, yeah. I might, on the odd occasion, usually celebratory with my best friend after a show, we'll have a little shot of something. But to say that I'm a social drinker, 100% no. Do I go to restaurants? No. But I like making my clean meals. And if I'm going to go to a restaurant, it would probably be for an occasion. Um, I like the structure. I don't feel that I've lost out. And that's sometimes the mentality. You'll hear people say, why don't you stop being so structured and regimented and live a little? Well, why do you not think I'm living a little? I'm living a lot. I love what I do. I love the endorphins that I release when I'm in a workout, and I feel completely unstoppable. I'm a fixed 56-year-old woman who feels like a child most days. Most days, not all days. But it's afforded me a lot more. So when there's someone new that's embarking into this, and then, a few weeks down the road, they're like, yeah, my friends they've stopped inviting me places, or they don't ask me to go out because half the time I say, no, I got to get good sleep. Well, just like they've left, the ones that come in are the ones that are going to be synonymous with you, and they're going to be in that same headspace where they're going to go, yeah, let's go for lunch because, man, I got to get to bed early tonight. Or, they do things at each other's homes where you can eat clean, or bring your Tupperware and go somewhere that's not necessarily a restaurant, but just a place like a park or whatever. Like, you just make your life becomes different, but you want it that way. That's why you made that choice. So when other people weigh in and start with their little attitudes and things, and we're being silly because we're so, or that it's, about just a look. It's not just about a look. It's about a feeling. That there's so much more to this than just lifting weights, meals, and not being any fun. Because I don't think that applies. We're still fun. We're just fun differently. I know that I mentioned that it's great, it's good, it's sustaining me. That's me. It's not to say that there aren't some situations where not it's not the right fit for some people. If you're coming from a background of disorder, um, It could help a food disorder. It could create a food disorder. Like you have to, it's a certain personality that does this, because it breaks my heart when you see a person who's, worked and worked and worked and worked to get to the stage. And then after, without the right guidance, without the reverse, it falls apart. And that is traumatizing. So if you're a person, like, it is a certain kind of person to do this and to have longevity. And I will never be someone to recruit. I don't do that. I run a show. I run 2 shows with a partner of mine. I will not walk into a gym and say, hey, you look fantastic. You should do my show. I don't know their background. I don't know what I'm setting them up for. However, if someone reach outs to me and says, like, um, I'm doing a show. Do you have any guidance for me? Do you have any words of wisdom for me? What should I do? Then, yeah, you know what? I'm all in, because whatever I can give that person for them to be successful, that's what I want. But I also am very clear about how things can fall off the tracks, go sideways. Um, and hopefully with that kind of information, that person's going to make the right decision for themselves. But I do not recruit. I work with people. I help with posing. I don't train. I don't do nutrition, because I can't give what a person deserves. I don't have the time. But when I can give snippets, that's better for me. And I think it's more beneficial to people that are in this, that want information or want reality or fact, or are they a good fit? Is your family life a good fit for this? Is your spouse supportive? Are your children old enough? Are you going to, like, just completely embark in this and not be good at balance, that everything else suffers? There are a lot of variables that weigh into this. So it's not just about stepping on a stage. And of course, younger or older, the problems for someone younger are hormonal. You're dieting down to a really, really low weight. Is that the good time to do that at your age? That's something to think about. And then a woman, a more mature woman, or someone whose kids are still toddlers, or these are all things that you have to think about, because it's one thing to just work out. It's another thing to compete. Everybody should work out. Everybody. That's just a given. But to go to that next step, you can come to me, but I'm not recruiting, just in case.
You have to really balance out, looking at like the big organizations, figure out a way to balance out, like, how do you manage popularity also with sustainable growth that leads then to good outcomes, for people and for the sport. I think they both go hand in hand, right? Like, you can't have one without the other.
And a lot of that hinges on coaching. And I know another thing that I like to do is, if I'm contacted, I will definitely refer, or I'll give the names that I know they're properly reversing their athletes, that I know that it's not just about getting them to the stage. That's important, but that's also education, that any one of us who are like, you don't have to be just an IFBB pro. You can be someone who's a seasonal competitor who also can just say, hey, listen, by the way, this is so fun and really awesome, and it really challenges you and it makes you dig deep. But there's an after that's almost more important, where you have to challenge yourself, dig deep. Once again, you're still doing that, but you're doing it in a different way. You're doing it to um, hold yourself back from binging because you were so structured. And then there's the post-show blues. That's something you have to navigate by having other, maybe, goals or ambitions. These are all things that, are they in a coach's programming? Possibly not, but a really good coach is going to be invested in not just how they place, how they thrive after. It's so super important. And I love that I love the camaraderie of this industry, but you touched on something that's extremely important, is that social media presents, let's say me. You go onto my social media page and my profile says I'm 56, 30 plus years in the industry. That's 30 years I've been doing this to get where I am today. So when you interact with someone and they're a newcomer and they want all the things that you have now, but they don't want that 27-year, 30-year journey. They want it now, 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 now. And we're dealing with a different generation. And I think I don't want to say the word, but when the world stopped rotating for a couple of years because of a certain virus, that really hurt a lot of people in a lot of different ways. And it's almost like this, I need to have it now because I just need to have it now. What if something happens? What if, like, it's like that's gone, that's been lost, this workmanship. And to be an IFBB pro, um, I take that as the hugest honor because I come from so far ago to get to this. So I hope that other people can kind of hold on to the fact that that title, when I was starting, there were maybe five. God, in Canada, there would maybe be two shows, two pro qualifiers to get one pro card. Like, things have changed so much, so much for the better. But that work ethic is a little different now. And I wish people could have done this in the 90s, early 90s, when you weren't doing this for anyone. You were lucky if you got into the newspaper, maybe on the evening news. You had to really want to do this because you were doing this for no one else. But you just like your gym crew. That's it.
Do you think that there's like a possible crossover that could be reached in the sport if there were just too many opportunities and not enough of exclusivity or rarity in what once was seen as like this like super rare thing is now becoming more and more prevalent? Are you a personal trainer who wants to scale and grow your business online? Have you been coaching online for years, yet don't know how to incorporate online into your current business model? Introducing Trainer Revenue Multiplier, the premier wealth creation system for fitness professionals that helps you earn more and work less. Visit www.trainerrevenuemultiplier.com today to schedule your free business accelerator session. If you're serious about taking your business to the next level, schedule your call today.
Well, you know what? If we use the example of the original 6 hockey teams, look how many hockey teams we have now in the NHL. I think it's just the natural progression and the natural evolution. And I'm just grateful that I saw the early years when it was just a very few of the best of the best. Now, but if you look at the people that are attending the Olympia or the Arnolds, they're all the best of the best. Like, they're amazing. So there's two ways of looking at it. Is it watered down? No. I think the caliber is going to be, different because some pro shows are, a little bit more attended to than others, or some are in locations that may not bring out the best of the best. But just the pod of people that are in the gym and are choosing this lifestyle is grown so very much that it only makes sense that with it, the platforms are growing. We, as the Canadian Physique Alliance, we have record numbers of members, and that's amazing that so many people are either fans, judges, promoters, or competitors. We all have our membership. And take that into the IFBB Pro League. You're a judge, you're a promoter, you're a pro, you're part of this just incredible family team. So it's just another facet of evolution. Nothing stays small. We as human beings just want to make everything bigger. It's like amalgamate, you know? And is it good? Is it bad? It's just different. That's all. But I can see that they're going to tighten the ship a little bit, I think. I think, you know, I don't know, maybe one day it'll be you have to win such and such shows to be at the Olympia, maybe because the pool is too big and the show will become too big. But if you watch like the caliber of competitors, I don't want to be a judge. I judged once. I swore I would never do it again because I just that sometimes the differences are so small between first and second. You're splitting hairs.
Yeah.
You know, I sat behind Tyler Mannion and watched him judge the Ben Weeder Naturals, and I was just blown away by what that young man can do. Just his attention and his focus and how he managed that stage for a full day, 2 days, was incredible. So, yeah, you know, there are more pro shows, there are more IFBB pros, but people are working hard. So I think it's deserved. And they have to assure the quality, I think, to a certain degree, you know, like it's a lot of people attending an event. And it's like the Arnold's being an invite. I think that's really good too, to do that. So whereas you have those pinnacle events that the best of the best, you know, they're the best congregating to them, and I think that's kind of good. I if I could, if I lived like in Florida, I would probably not be doing 3 shows, 4 shows. I would probably just keep going. I feel my best when I am stage ready. I feel my healthiest, and it's when I'm in my off season that I really struggle. I struggle with autoimmune disease, so from the month of November to February, it's pretty tough. But that's why I say this sport is, you know, pretty much done more for me in the pluses than taken anything away. Because when I'm in prep, I'm eating such bland food. The inflammation isn't so much an issue. I'm actually eating more probably sometimes than in these months because it's difficult for me. So I thrive. I would probably go from show to show to show. But to be in Canada and then to go to the States and get an Airbnb for months on end, it just doesn't make sense. It's too expensive. So I have my bucket list, and it's the promoters that I was really inspired by, or it's the people that may have competed at those events. The last 2 years, my choices have had purpose. So it's been really, really good to choose. Like my first year, I did Janet's Battle of the Bodies, Gary Udit World Master Pros. I did Mike Matassa's Daytona Pro. They're all great people, and they ran outstanding events, and I had the best time and had my first pro win at Janet's show. And then my second and third pro wins in Daytona. And then this year I chose Chicago because it reminds me of like I said, those original 6 hockey teams, like Chicago Pro, Tampa Pro. When you hear those names, that's shows that have been around for a long time. So I did Chicago and I won Chicago, and then I did Tampa and I won Tampa. And then I went to San Antonio and won San Antonio. So I asked them if they were sure. I said, you guys must be mistaken. But I worked so hard. And these are master shows. They're with my fellow master competitors who are incredible. You know, we're all doing this at this great age in our lives where we feel so good. You know, it's so inspiring when I get on stage and I look at the, you know, 40 plus class and the 50 plus, the 55. And in some cases, we have more in our classes than are in the open. And we're in our 50s. you know, like it's so amazing. And it's so amazing all the friendships I've made. You know, we're discussing backstage, oh, yeah, my daughter's having a baby soon. And the open class is talking about prom. Like, you know, it's so much fun. Like, I've met so many incredible ladies. It's just amazing. I'm so glad that these master classes were created for us because we're killing it. Like these women, there's a 60 plus class. These ladies look amazing. I'm gonna do that one day. I'm gonna do the 60 plus class. I'm still gonna be doing this. Come hell or high water. Still gonna be doing this. But it's a different entity when you're backstage with not that like I love doing the open class too. I've done the open class at all of the shows I've done. I adore these girls. They're amazing. So I'm not taking away from that. But when you're with, you know, your women that are your age and the conversations backstage are hilarious. Like we just have so much fun. And you know what? It's amazing to when you have like in Chicago, Bob Ciccarello was the MC and I was at the front of the on the parallel. I was closest to him and he stops and he says, so Cindy, what do you think about the Chicago Pro? And he passes me the mic. It was actually an opportunity to like say to Tim Garner, you are killing this. Your shows are amazing. I had an opportunity to thank the judges, to say how incredible Chicago is. All of these great things that every show brings on something more incredible that I just kind of go, oh my God, I did that. That's so cool. But the biggest thing is the relationships that are built with these ladies because we're different. Once you hit post 40 and you're still doing this, it's different because you're battling different kinds of hormones. So, we're pretty tight backstage. And it's not like there's no animosity. There's just none of that. We're just really genuinely happy to see each other and to be back there and to be on stage. It's hilarious. It's such a good time. I wouldn't change anything for the world.
Just the motivation and the inspiration that the masters divisions, really give me, but also I think have the opportunity to give just the general public, even more so than just like, oh, that's a really impressive bodybuilder, at the Olympia, winning or, top two or three or whatever, or, just the like men's open, like that's a huge individual with so much muscle. Like that is cool and crazy. But to me, it's more like inspiring when you see somebody that's in the masters division doing it, especially when you just look around and go, that's not necessarily someone who has like, yeah, some people have genetic advantages, but for the most part, it's just like this person has been working hard for a long time and this is the result. Like to me, that's a great representation of what's possible.
And you know what? A lot of the times when I've entered into because in two of those shows, the open show was 2 days later. So in Chicago and Tampa, the masters were on Thursday and the open was on Saturday. So I had a day separating two stage dates. So now when I'm backstage on that Saturday, the open don't necessarily know that I competed on Thursday as well, right? But once they know or know my age or whatever, it's always been so favorable. Like they're like, oh my God, like I have a nickname, Mama. Come on, Mama, let's go. Like I think whatever their caliber is, it just doesn't matter. I did a show with Isa Pacini, and what a delightful girl, first of all. She's just such a lovely, genuine girl. But she's top tier. And she was just normal. And, we were chit-chatting backstage. I was fixing her hair, completely normal, like the mutual respect there. And I think even at that age and that caliber, they can still be inspired, that they can still look forward to many, many, many more years if they do this right. If they're mindful of their health and their well-being and all of these great things, and they know when to rest and takes out. I took a lot of years off. Again, I took time off to have my family. I took time off until they developed different categories than bodybuilding because I was definitely not going to keep winning. I don't want to say I was lucky at that show where I won, but I was kind of lucky at that show where I won. So that's why I dove into all the other facets of the industry, because there was that timeline between 1994 and 2009 that I wouldn't have fit in that category. So I bumped over to figure, sorry, and I did figure for some time. And then my husband took ill. He was diagnosed with cancer, so I stopped again. And we got our house in order again. And then he kicked me out to get back to doing what I love to do. So I started back in 2011. But at that point, there was bikini. So I was the very first master bikini competitor in Ontario on that stage at our provincial championships in 2011. And I went from that stage to the nationals to the North Americans in Cleveland, and I was hooked again. I was just hooked. So every year since then, either I think no, every year I did some sort of competition every year and then scored my pro card. Sorry, earned my pro card in 2019. And I would have been, oh my God, I would have been 51, I think. Yeah, 51. I'm 56 now, 2019. Whatever. So it doesn't matter when you win it. When you win it, it's going to be the right time. And I can honestly say that I never, God is my witness, thought I was going to win a pro card. I thought I was a pioneer. I was here to pioneer women my age to go out there and do it. And don't be afraid. Don't limit yourself. Just go and do it. And then to pull a pro card win, I was just blown away. I just couldn't believe it. This is so cool. So it doesn't matter when it comes. When it comes, it's the right time. What you do with it is, that may be a different story altogether. There are some people that win it and that's all they wanted and they're done. But I was so not done. I was just getting started. So it's been good.
How would you compare though your first time getting on stage to, all those years later, getting back on?
It was like I never got off. I remember because I did 2 shows with a different federation because, like I said, we only had bodybuilding. And I remember stepping on stage and I just did all this stuff organically. Because it was like fitness model stuff. So there was theme wear and it's like I'd never stopped. Literally, the minute the makeup came on and the spray tan came on, and it's like, snoop, there we go. The identity changes and you just morph into this person. So I did 2. And then, like I said, we had figure that started, and that's when I came back. And I had just lost my father. And my mom said, well, and she doesn't like that I was a bodybuilder. She's old school, right? So she'd be like, I had a girl, not a boy. What are you doing that for? And my dad was always like super pumped. He was like right in there. So when he passed, she said to me, she's like, well, what do you need? I'm like, well, what do you mean? What do I need? She's like, well, your dad was the one that, cheered you on and supported you. What do I need to do? I'll do it. I said, just let me eat my bodybuilder food and don't get upset when I don't eat what you cook. And she's like, oh, I can do that. And she came so I picked a show and she came to the show with my aunt, and I won. And she, you couldn't hear anybody else except my mom screaming. And it's like she finally got it. She like understood this passion that I had because she saw her daughter radiating on stage of just bliss. And I had my little daughter there and my son, and they were just little peanuts, and it was perfect. So ever since that 2009, like she didn't come to any other shows, but she was the first one I would call, and or I'd go to when she was placed in a home. She had had a stroke. I would show up with my trophies and whatever, and she'd want pictures with them. And my whole family, extremely supportive. My big sister is like, she pumps my tires all the time. She's so awesome.
I can imagine it would be, tough to do it for so long without that support.
Oh, yeah. Especially your family. My husband's all in because we got together when I was in my early 30s, 32. So I was already well immersed into this. He knows nothing different. And he's a firefighter, and he used to do fire fit challenges. So it's combat challenge where they're in full gear and run it. They do an obstacle course. So he's very athletic as well. And he's been my number one supporter. The kids are awesome. They love it. They think I'm crazy sometimes, but that's okay. I don't make them eat what I eat, so it's good. And they're grown now. Like my son is 22 and my daughter's 19, and they'll watch the pay-per-view when I'm competing in the States, and they'll send me like little screenshots. And yeah, you want to make your family proud. And I have never, ever in all of my years of competing walked into a show saying I'm going to win it. I've never, ever thought it. I never, yeah, I'd manifest it like, oh, I hope I'd really love to do well. I don't think I've ever said the word win. That's not my makeup. I'm just not that person. I wasn't raised that way. But there was something I always did say. And I would say it to my mom because my mom was very, very staunch Catholic, said the rosary every day. And I would always say, okay, mom, I'm going to do a show. Can you just pray that my feet not fail me? Can I just have this really clean routine, and wherever I end up, I'm fine because I did my job. I brought my best body. I brought my best routine. The rest is out of my hands. They're going to choose the best person that day. And every time before I walk on the stage, I'll say, just don't let my feet fail me. And my girlfriend that travels with me, she'll always be like, why do you make that face when they pick your name? I'm like, because I'm surprised. Because I am legitimately surprised and honored every time. You have to win with graciousness and humility, and you have to lose with graciousness and humility. You shouldn't be in that sport if you cannot be in a place of gratitude for whichever way that goes. At least on stage. When you're in the privacy of your room and you want to curl up in the corner, suck your thumb and cry, go right ahead. But on that stage in that moment, I am so impressed by people who win and lose with humility and gratitude. That impresses me. There's a lot of entitlement. I think now more than ever, there's a lot of entitlement. And I don't know how to fix that. I think by people my age and people that have maintained a moral compass should remind that, like, oftentimes you'll see that the blame goes on the judging panel. Oh, what were they looking at? Oh, what? Those people sit at a table with certain criteria to follow, and a head judge that has to be accredited to be a head judge. They have had to have done a lot of shows before they're in a position of head judge. So I think, like, when I say that you need to win and lose in a place of gratitude and humility, that's to respect the people standing beside you on either side of you. Because you will hear people say, and I'm just saying it's not me to do that. I don't say that people are wrong if they're like, I'm going in there and I'm going to win this. That's fantastic. I don't have, I just wasn't raised that way. I just can't do it. I wouldn't sell it because I wouldn't believe it. Because I feel that everybody is working so hard. Nobody is walking into this like a cakewalk. Everybody is working so hard. It's so disrespectful to just undercut that everybody else is working so hard. That's my basis behind it. Am I bringing my best? Oh, damn straight I am. Am I confident that it's my best? 100%. Do I think it? Do I know I'm going to be these two and the other two and however many? No, I don't. I don't have a mirror standing beside, like, Instagram and progress photos. You're standing singularly. You can look like $1,000,000, but then put your body beside the rest of the lineup. That $1,000,000 is your $1,000,000. It might not be that for everybody else. So oftentimes the judges to me are disrespected, and I think it's horrible because this is a subjective sport. They're given criteria, they're following their criteria. Does it change from time to time? Yeah. Is it sometimes confusing? Sure. They're still the judges. That's their role. So, you know, check your ego. And that's probably a certain amount of like that, team winning and beating each other, and then the smack talk happens. There's room for smack talk. That's kind of funny. Like when you listen, especially to the open bodybuilders smack talk or classic, you don't hear it too much in bikini or fitness or figure because it would, I don't know. I've never heard women do it, but it's possible. Oh, the women bodybuilders, they were doing a little bit of that. I heard it when they were doing it out of the Olympia, but I just think there's room for it. It adds some spice maybe to the event. But when it steps over the line, I'm done. I don't even want to be a part of it. I don't even want to watch it because I think it's as soon as you've lost respect, no, no, I don't buy into that.
Definitely.
It's better to um, be respectful and have people's respect and return it. That's how you build these great lasting bonds. I'd sooner have that than and an attitude and a few medals. The direction of the zingers, as long as it's never on um like the referees of a game, the judges, like people that are people that should be treated like they're people of authority and should be treated with respect. I think that's the line in the sand, you know, because you're in fact disrespecting the sport too if you take it too far, you know. But yeah, it's a balance. But people want it. They want smack talk. Look at podcasts now. Podcasts a few years ago. Now there's all this inter fighting or chirping each other, and wow, it's hard to keep track of. In my case, it's not just for the show of it. It's I need this lifestyle. I take very few medications for all my autoimmune disorders, and I have a lot of them. I'm at five, I think, six now. Um, and this sport is really, really good for me. It works for me. Um, like for instance, I have fibromyalgia. Now, fibro is very temperamental. you suffer a great deal, and there's medication for it. When I was first diagnosed with fibromyalgia, I think it would have been 2013, maybe 2014. As a child, I was diagnosed with child onset osteoarthritis, which I think was a misdiagnosis. I think it was always fibromyalgia, but I was misdiagnosed as a child. So with fibro, I'll wake up in the morning like anybody else who suffers from it, and I'll be in a lot of pain because I've been sedentary for the night in bed sleeping. And lack of mobility is really bad for me with fibro. So I wake up in the morning and I say the same thing to myself every damn morning. You hurt, but you're not hurt. Like, I'm not hurt. I'm not injured. I didn't break anything. I don't have anything torn, but I'm in a pretty substantial amount of pain. Sometimes it's under my feet. Sometimes it's my knees. Could be my hands. I don't know, my shoulder. It just picks and chooses without discrimination. So I get up in the morning, I get myself moving, get my family fed, and then I move. I move, I move. And then when I get to the gym, I lift and I lift heavy. Why? Because I'm releasing pain fighting endorphins. Makes perfect sense. And then I might be sore. I'll train back, I'll have a sore back. Oh, perfect. I know why I'm sore. I have a leg day. I'll do legs. I'll have the domes for a couple days after. So I'm sore. I'm hurting. I'm not hurt. It's like as a bodybuilder, you're aching somewhere every day. Fibromyalgia just jumps in and plays as well. It's not to make light of the disease. It's my coping mechanism. The heavier I lift, the longer time during the day I have where I'm not in pain. And that's factual. I was on Lyrica for 14 days in 2014 when I was first diagnosed. It was a very low dose of Lyrica to combat the pain. I can't tell you what happened in those 14 days because I'm so stoned. I slept nonstop. And then towards the end of it, I started throwing up and I was throwing up blood. So they figured it was a belly bleed. I stopped Lyrica and I never went back to it. I've not done any crazy pain fighting drugs. I eat clean. I train hard. And fibromyalgia is a lot of it is cognitive. So if you're going to succumb to it, it's going to win. You're going to be in pain. Maybe you're going to be on the couch. Maybe you'll take the pharma that they want you to take. So maybe you're going to do that. I've chosen to up the ante. When it stops working, I work harder. And then I work harder than that. Now, it's not always it's not always something that works, but for the most part it is. Like way more often am I able to get myself out of it than the times that I haven't been able to. And the times that I haven't been able to, I've shown myself a little grace and I've stayed in bed because I have to. The Sjogren's, I have something called Sjogren's syndrome where I don't hydrate. So I have to drink all day. Well, what does that do? That affects my stomach acids. So I erode from reflux. Okay, well, I'm eating bland food. I eat rice, I eat fish, I eat egg whites. Well, then I don't have so many issues. So the whole thing, it makes perfect sense for me. And the heavier I lift, the more I change. And that seems to be what's helping right now. So I think it's not for everyone to this extreme, but it's amazing what a clean lifestyle can do for ailments, period, across the board. And cognitively speaking, too. If you're in a good headspace, you have more artillery to fight things off. Your mind can do amazing things.
Certainly these are things we could talk a long time about and go on
Oh,
and on
gosh.
about. There's, tons of depth to it and tons of, lessons to be learned from it. And I really appreciate you coming on and sharing some of those and just sharing your story here tonight.
Well, thanks for having me. My pleasure. Well, I'm not done writing this book yet, so we might have to hook up one more time for the next chapter.
Absolutely. That'd be great. And if you want to, before we head out, if you want to share anywhere where people can get a hold of you or social media or anything like that, you can do that.
Right. I'm on as Cindy VEP _ IFBB Pro on Instagram. I have Facebook, but I got to be honest, I'm not too good about the Facebook. But yeah, I'm on Instagram. They can come and pay me a visit. Any questions or, I'm here.